Did you know that since the 1940s, massive amounts of uranium were mined from over 1,000 sites across indigenous reservations all the way down to Puerto Rico? At the end of the mining boom, hundreds of those mines are left abandoned without proper cleanup. And so for decades, they continue to leak radiation into the reservations, contaminating most tribes' only source of water and poisoned generations of native people. With the new invasions of oil pipelines and data centers in recent years, pretty much all news cycles have forgotten about the never-ending fight by indigenous folks to clean up these mines. Pretty much all except us.
We're the closest reservation to any uranium mine in South Dakota. All the waterways within the Black Hills that are contaminated and highly radioactive, there's no coming back from that radioactivity. And, that's alarming to me. The Black Hills basically are Mecca. And for them to come in and want to destroy all of that, it's very, it's like sacrilege. It upsets me that these companies still say it's green and it's not going to harm anybody. I mean, you're honestly like contaminating our people. Like, you don't think of us, are we even human in your eyes? They, to me, we're not.
You want to see what real independent journalism funded by the people for the people looks like?
You ever heard a story like this in America?
You're looking at it.
Congratulations for always being somewhere where mainstream media is not.
Flint, Michigan.
See you in Nevada.
Thanks to people like you, we can get the truth. Corporate media, they've been lying to us for years, and you're going straight to the people.
You are the man. I'm glad you're here.
For as low as 16 cents a day, you'll keep us on the ground, covering the important stories the corporate media covers up. Hey, it's Jordan. I'm delighted to be joined by Trina Lonehill. You are a indigenous member of the Oglala Sioux tribe, and you've been on the front lines along with a lot of your tribe battling against the Dewey Murdoch uranium mine project, which, like so many other mines, oil pipelines, have been stuck in legal battle for about a decade.
Yes. I want to say at least, since about 2010, I believe, is when it initially started for the tribe. In the site itself, there are two large piles of tailings that nothing grows on, that have been sitting open and exposed since the 50s. And this really alarms me because, we talk about all the waterways within the Black Hills that are contaminated and highly radioactive. This is why, there's nothing covering them. Some of the arguments were they couldn't find the ancient boreholes for this mine, which I think is false and a lie, because they don't mention that all of the contamination, all of the water that they're proposing to re-inject into the ground, basically the groundwater, they don't tell us that it's contaminated. And once it's contaminated, that's for eternity. It's never going to be there's no reclamation. There's no coming back from that radioactivity. And, that's alarming to me. The Black Hills, that is basically our Mecca. That is every Lakota, Dakota, Nakota person. This is the places of our origin. All of our creation stories come from here. Our places of worship, medicines, all these things are encompassed in the Black Hills. And for them to come in and want to destroy all of that, it's very, it's like sacrilege. It's against everything that we stand for. And it upsets me that, these companies still say it's green and it's not going to harm anybody. But we're the ones that have to live with it. We live 40 miles from the nearest mine. We're the closest reservation to any uranium mine in South Dakota.
This was the same industry that claimed the Dakota Access Pipeline wouldn't leak,
Yes.
and state-of-the-art steel pipes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So not exactly the most reliable messenger.
No. And it's very scary to me how, they just feel like, oh no, this is green. And I said, this is, you're honestly like contaminating our people. Like, you don't think of us, are we even human in your eyes? They, to me, we're not. And, our history, our footprint in these areas is being erased by these invasive, destructive mines. And it's not just the uranium mining, it's gold mining. It's, what else do we have? We have even gravel pits, everything is basically destroying and, erasing our footprint as a people.
From 1890 through World War II, lithium was mined and refined in the Black Hills. Now demand for the mineral is on the rise as several companies receive exploration permits to find more lithium resources.
And speaking of the history, this is at the same time that the Trump administration is basically sending out directive to those national parks to remove anything linked to slavery or that native tribes once originated on this land and were forced out.
Yeah.
So it's not only that this is this mine in particular is threatening ancestral burial grounds, your cultural sites where you could pray, come together, but you also have an attack on essentially the history of America, which is the original sin. Can you kind of talk about that?
So that in itself, even the state of South Dakota, prior to Trump coming in, they, our governor at the time, she erased tribal history. They had an Ocetishakoni standards. It was a history that included our native and our tribal history in their state public schools. They eliminated that.
And that was Kristi Noem, who's now head of Department of Homeland Security.
Yes. And so during the COVID, the whole pandemic, all of the tribes banned her from our reservation borders. I am not surprised by what she is doing and what, the rhetoric that she spews. It's just, it's infuriating. And everyone gets to see what we had to deal with as tribal nations in South Dakota under her term or her tenure there as governor.
I kind of think about what so many, frankly, white Americans are feeling right now. They're seeing this kind of invasion of the federal government, a president saying he might invoke the Insurrection Act, saying I could do whatever I want. I'm going to dispatch the federal government to fight the enemy within. And part of me wonders, do indigenous people look at this as kind of like, we've been dealing with this white imperialism and kind of fascism for hundreds of years?
We've actually been dealing with it since 1492. We always like to say this, we were a people, we were a nation prior to the statehood of South Dakota. We, our borders, before they were even a state, we were a nation. We had our territories, and we've been fighting since day one to keep our territories. And it's not just here in South Dakota. Like, our territories are Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, Colorado, all in the area. And it's just, it gets a little tiring, but then we got to keep fighting for these treaty rights. We have to keep these going. We have to keep our kids, in the know with these treaties, and know what is being violated, and making sure that for the next 100 years, they'll all be fighting this too.